What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over 5 tools from Harbor Freight every mechanic should have in their toolbox. I've been going to Harbor Freight since 2007, and the quality at that store from then to now is leaps and bounds better, especially now they have the Icon lineup, the Quinn lineup, they have Bauer, Hercules, and there's other brands I can't think of off the top of my head, but man, it has got so much better. I'm really loving the Icon lineup. I'm no longer in a dealership, so tool truck's not really an option for me. I'm really not interested in spending that kind of money on a Snap-on, Matco, or Cornwell. We build drag cars and stuff like that. We're big into racing, and Husky, Icon, high-grade Pittsburgh, if that's such a thing, gets us by just fine. But 5 things that I definitely think every mechanic should have in their toolbox. One is a feeler gauge. Especially if you're building engines or doing anything, we're going to have to check specs on anything tight tolerance. You definitely want a feeler gauge. And one of the reasons I picked the one from Harbor Freight is it's just as good as anyone out there, except it's $5. I've seen these things 10, 15, some of them for 20 bucks, which is insane. You can buy 4 of these for the price of that $20 one. And a lot of times we will take these things apart and use specific gauges, and over time they just get worn out and they get lost, they get bent. It's a $4 tool, okay? It's not that big a deal. It's not going to hurt your bank or your wallet or anything like that. And you can buy multiple, once again, for the price of just one of the others. So I definitely highly recommend the feeler gauge. We got another one today because we're going to be shimming up the new LS oil pump on our 5.3 liter. So I wanted to start with a fresh one. That way I knew we were good to go. Another thing that every mechanic should have in their toolbox is a test light. Now, this is a circuit break tester, but it's used the same as a test light. And one reason I recommend this over a multimeter is it's just a lot less clutter. Like, I love using a multimeter. It's a lot more precise. This can tell you if the circuit's getting power. It can't tell you how much power is on that circuit. You might need 12 volts or however many. Now, it can't tell you that, where a multimeter can. It can give you a fine-tuned what's going on. But with this right here, it's something you can throw in the glove box or just something simple to take with you, and you can test circuits in an emergency situation. And the one thing I like about this over the multimeter, it's hard. Every time you need to use a multimeter, it's hard to find somewhere the multimeter is going to sit perfect and not be an absolute nuisance. Every time you move a wire, the multimeter is wanting to fall and just go everywhere you don't want it to go. So this right here is basically a really good starting point. If you have an electrical issue, you can check and see if you got power on certain fuses, certain circuits. It's a great tool. I think this one at Harbor Freight's like $7. So you're not breaking the bank there. You're not bringing out your big high-dollar multimeter. God forbid you lose a Fluke multimeter. They are expensive. They are I think they're the best multimeter. I'd rather have this in my glove box and mess it up or whatever than my Fluke multimeter. And then once again, if we don't find power on a circuit, then we can bust out the multimeter and see exactly what's going on. So this is definitely a great thing to have with you, and just a good simple starting point before you bring out the multimeter. And once again, it's great on travel because it's compact and it just works out a little better. Another thing from Harbor Freight, now these are not Harbor Freight. Since I have cleaned up the shop, a lot of these have been lost, and one's a Hyper Tough, but they sell a set of 6 oil filter wrenches. These are oil filter wrenches I highly recommend. I have been using these for years. I think they're great. You ain't got the big wrench style with the handle. That thing almost never can, an oil filter is never where you can use that and get it where, tight enough to get the oil filter off. So where these right here, you just put them on the back, you got a ratchet on it, or an extension, get it off. It just works out really good. Now, there's still some oil filters you will have trouble getting these on and stuff like that. Just depends on the position. The engineer thought it was a great idea to put that oil filter in because engineers are our friends as mechanics. Let's be honest, they're not. But the only time I've really had issue getting these on the back of an oil filter, it was like a Fram. It has the texture coating on the back to help you get grip on it. Now, you may have a little trouble getting it to go on then. And then with the K&Ns, you really don't need that. They have the little bolt or the little nut on the back or whatever, place to put a socket on. But for the most part, these are awesome. I really love these. But they sell a set of 6 at Harbor Freight. If you're working on, if you're a lube tech, this is a great place to start. Being in a dealership, they may already have you some stuff that you may not need these, but if they don't provide you, which they never provide you with tools, but they may have a different setup, I don't know. But I highly recommend these, just depending on what dealership you're in. Some have a different setup, but I would highly recommend those. Now, the next tools are a little bit different, and you're probably gonna wonder at first why I would recommend these. If you have a U-Pull-It, a pull apart where you go pick your own auto parts, if you're one of those people, this is definitely for you. If you do drag and drives or stuff like that, I know some people like bringing big expensive tools and stuff like that. I'm not one of those people. A good set of cheap Harbor Freight pliers right here in my hand. I probably don't even have $15 for the pliers. Now I still need the channel lock style plier. I love these right here because I can take them to pull apart or wherever. If you've ever been there, if you've been there enough, you know, you leave a tool unattended long enough, somebody's going to walk by and swipe it. It happens. I hate that it happens, especially if you're under a car and God forbid there's something near your waist. Somebody's going to walk by that they're not doing anything. They're going to take it. So I would much rather them take something like this from me and then, you know, get to wherever they're going, check out the tool and be, dadgum, I stole a piece of junk Pittsburgh. I don't even know if these are labeled Pittsburgh, but I'd much rather them grab a set of these from me than a pair of like Snap-on, Icon, Husky, Cornwell, anything that's worth some money. So I'd highly recommend these. These are good enough to get you by. Once again, throw them in the glove box. Just keep a spare set in there. They're great for that. Build you like a little junkyard toolbox. I'd highly recommend those. And that kind of goes the same for the next thing. And these are Pittsburgh screwdrivers. And honestly, for what they cost, the quality on them is not terrible. Like it's not something you'd want to use every day if you're a mechanic. But for a junkyard toolbox, just throw it in your glove box. Whatever, like a little weekend toolbox, you know, just building your little emergency tool set. These are freaking awesome. Always have junk tools. Like, you know, especially throwaways like this. I know everybody's like, wow, I got these great brands. Don't take your big, expensive tools out of your toolbox. They need to stay in your toolbox. These are the ones you pull out of your toolbox. Same with the pliers. So any of my name brand stuff, it's never going to leave that toolbox. It doesn't leave the toolbox. You know, it don't leave the shop, more or less. But this stuff right here, if I'm going to pull apart, maybe I need some stuff for the car. This is the stuff I'm packing in my toolbox. This is more than enough to get me through a trip at the junkyard. And once again, I lose some of them. Gonna be a little butt hurt, but nothing compared to where if I lose like a Snap-on. You know, Icons are pretty expensive now. An Icon, a Husky, or any of that stuff. I know somebody laugh like, oh, you lose a Husky, you're probably, you know, life's doing you a favor. Everybody has their own opinion. But last thing we do is take like a Matco, a Cornwell, or some really high-end brand out there, and then you lose them, or you have them stolen from you, because it does happen a lot of the junkyards. So I highly recommend going to Harbor Freight, building you a junk little tool set, pliers, screwdrivers, really any of that stuff for that matter. You would be amazed how much they will pay for themselves in the long run, and they're good enough tools to get you by for a weekend or a trip to the junkyard. Anyways, guys, those are the 5 tools I think every mechanic should have in their toolbox. I know everybody's going to have their own personal opinion. If you have a tool that you would recommend as a top 5, drop it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you got. Harbor Freight has so many things. It's really hard to pick just 5. But anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you smack that subscribe button, and we will catch you on the next one. We'll catch you next time.